In deep state USA, the FBI doesn't solve terrorism and crime. It manages terrorism and crime. The CIA doesn't collect intelligence. It collects people. The courts don't meet justice. They deny it. The news doesn't report the news. They contort it. The deep state doesn't serve. It enslaves. But slavery is a choice. The cage is safe. Chains certain. Freedom is dangerous. The opposite of slavery is freedom. The opposite of a slave is a warrior. The enslaver demands submission. Say as you are told. Do as you are told, or else. The slave submits. A warrior refuses to submit. A warrior is dangerous, free, uncontrollable, unstoppable, relentless. I will never be a slave. I am a warrior. What are you? And so I would add, is Joe Kent. I'm ex-DEA and DIA, a retired SOCOM soldier, deep state targeted, turned whistleblower warrior, sabotaged and slandered, betrayed and saved, rejected and redeemed, as teacher and truth teller, now America's intelligence officer, resisting tyranny in obedience to God, recruiting like-minded patriots, training next generations to infill corrupted agencies, bottom up, inside out, and St. Martin them. Co-opting conquerors in Christ. Welcome. I'm Jeff Prather, and this is the Prather Point. Welcome, everybody. Last show on Tuesday was my most important ever, I believe. And this one may be equally important. So I appreciate so much your getting the word out and liking, sharing, and subscribing because I am thoroughly throttled way back. And the title, of course, on Tuesday was Intelligence Indicates Netanyahu Dead. The title today is Breaking, My Netanyahu Dead Analysis Holds. So I was totally prepared to recant and ask pardon if I was wrong, but all Netanyahu VIDS debunked as false, as AI fakes, all of them. So that's at last count, at least a half a dozen. So that is not proof of life. That is confirmed proof of death and a massive global cover-up, which cannot hold. I don't see how they can continue to do this. They're going to get caught eventually. So again, thanks for all your support. I appreciate it. Also, thanks for all your prayers and emails and texts about my health. I've been ill for 2 months, 2 ER visits, been to a specialist, got a couple more, slowly getting better, hurts less to inhale, and coughing much less. And thank you so much for your patience in bearing with me, because I think this is very, very important. And today's cast may be even more important because, as I will get to, it's about troops' lives, our troops' lives. So again, title today, Breaking, My Netanyahu Dead Analysis Holds. I haven't seen anything yet to counter it. And all of the AI, all of the videos have proven to be AI fakes. And if you want to see those proof, go to my X. They're mostly on my X, very clear. But also, please like, share, and subscribe on Rumble, X, and if you want to, even YouTube and Facebook as well. So, also going to talk about why Kent resigned now, and why Israel blindsided Trump now, the timing, and why accusing Kent of leaks and weakness is absurd. And of course, Kent has been on the Prather Point, and we share a similar intelligence background. And then Trump weighs boots on Iran ground and appears to miss the Tripoli solution that I talked about the other day. So let me get in to this. Roca Holmes maybe is being held, as Michael Young speculates. Yes, Bala Customs. What do you think on Joe Kent happening? Bongino's joke was crying all morning about his appearance. Yeah, I'm going to get into all of that into detail. But the most important thing today is to get the word out, and that may be about saving troops' lives, Marines' lives. So the answer to your question, Earl Jackson, who's running the Israeli regime? It looks like the vice president is. But Israel made a dangerous military decision in that they struck South Pars, the largest gas field on the planet. South Pars is jointly owned by Iran and Qatar. They just didn't attack Iran. They attacked the energy backbone of their own Gulf allies. The IRGC then declared all major energy facilities across the GCC as direct and legitimate targets and warned strikes are coming in hours. They listed the targets: Qatar's LNG complex, the Saudi Aramco facilities, UAE oil terminals, everything. Saudi Aramco has already evacuated workers from the Sam refinery in Yanbu. They're not waiting. They know what's coming. Iranian hackers have already hit Aramco's digital systems, posting images and issuing threats to paralyze their infrastructure. Multiple explosions have been heard in Riyadh. Reuters, AFP, AP confirmed this. Sirens sounding in the Saudi capital. Qatar's LNG complex is the largest on Earth. It supplies 30% of the world's liquefied natural gas. If Iran hits it, Europe's heating supply disappears overnight. Not in months, overnight. Saudi Aramco is the most valuable company on the planet, worth $1.8 trillion in refinery processes and processes 12 million barrels per day. One successful strike takes 10% of the world's oil offline. In 2019, a single drone attack on Saudi Aramco's Abqaiq facility knocked out 5.7 million barrels per day and sent oil up 15%. Iran now has 10 times the motivation and nothing left to lose. Here's the logic. You bomb a gas facility that's jointly owned with Qatar. Qatar, your own Gulf ally, publicly condemns you. Iran uses the attack as justification to target all Gulf energy. IRGC formally declares Gulf facility as legitimate targets. Aramco starts evacuating refineries. Explosions hit Riyadh. You didn't weaken Iran. You gave them an excuse to burn down the entire Gulf's economy. If Iran's military is degraded, why are 6 Gulf nations scrambling to protect their own oil fields from an attack they believe is imminent? You don't evacuate the world's most valuable company unless you know it's coming. The IRGC said coming hours, not days, not weeks, hours. And every Gulf state just went from spectator to target. This is no longer a war between the US and Iran. This is a war that's about to erase the Gulf's entire energy infrastructure. In response, President Trump on Wednesday announced on Truth Social that Israel had hit a major facility known as the South Pars gas field in Iran, prompting Iran to launch a retaliatory attack on Qatar's liquid natural gas facility at Ras Laffan Industrial City. Qatari officials said that Iran's attacks caused extensive damage to the area of the world's largest liquefied gas export facility, describing the move as dangerous escalation. Trump's statement confirms that Israel launched the initial attack on South Pars. Per the New York Times, of course it's the New York Times, Iran and Qatar on Wednesday accused Israel of attacking a giant offshore national gas field that the two countries share, sending the prices of oil and natural gas soaring. On what would be a sharp escalation of strikes on energy infrastructure. Iran's oil ministry said on social media that airstrikes had damaged a number of its facilities connected to the South Pars gas field. It appears to be one of the most significant energy sites to be hit since the U.S.-Israeli war against Iran began nearly 3 weeks ago. Per CNBC, Brent crude prices, the international benchmark, surged more than 7% to $111. Notably, this comes after Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said the strait is open to all except those who are attacking us and their allies, and threatened to attack American energy infrastructure in the Middle East if the U.S. or Israel targets oil and energy infrastructure. And now Trump says Israel executed another attack which the U.S. knew nothing about. So this is Trump telling Iran and the world that Israel did this unilaterally, and said that Qatar was in no way, shape, or form involved with it, nor did it have any idea that it was going to happen. And he said, unfortunately, Iran did not know this or any of the pertinent facts pertaining to the South Pars attack, and unjustifiably and unfairly attacked a portion of Qatar's LNG gas facility. He added, no more attacks will be made by Israel. So first, Trump is saying something extraordinary, and that is the Israelis did this without telling him and the U.S. military. And secondly, he's doing something huge. He's saying no more attacks will be made by Israel. That is, he has told Israel for the first time ever to stand down. And he is also giving a way out to the Iranians. Trump further said that he does not want to authorize this level of violence and destruction because of the long-term implications that it will leave on the future of Iran. However, if Qatar's LNG is attacked again, I will not hesitate to do so, he said. Then he said something even more significant. Israel, out of anger for what has taken place in the Middle East, has violently lashed out at a major facility known as the South Pars gas field in Iran. A relatively small section of the whole has been hit. The United States knew nothing about it. So he's exculpating the United States from this yet again. And the country of Qatar was in no way, shape, or form involved with it, nor did it have any idea that was going to happen. So the question is, why was Israel so angry all of a sudden? Because Israel started the war. Israel's been assassinating Iranian officials for a long time. What was this sudden anger? And my answer, my analysis to that is the assassination of Netanyahu and his wife and his defense minister. That's what I think is happening here. So that's the question. The answer to the question is why Israel blindsided Trump and why now. The answer is Netanyahu assassination removed the initiative and morale from the U.S. and Israel. Trump just gave Israel an order. So that is a sea change. And that confirms my analysis that Netanyahu is not in charge and Israel is in real trouble. So I hope that makes sense and answers the questions already on the Rumble rant. But that leaves the question, why did Joe Kent resign now? And again, I think the answer is the same. I think Kent knows, like Trump, like the Israeli government, that Netanyahu is dead. And Netanyahu's death changes the whole face of the war. Because if Iran can hit Netanyahu, they can hit anybody in Israel. And if that comes out, then the failed U.S. air defenses and running out of munitions is going to come out as well. But again, I don't see how they can keep this cover-up going forever. Of course, they'll say he's sick or something. They won't admit that Iran killed him in a strike. But after Kent's resignation, he went on to Tucker Carlson. Of course, I asked him to come on, but I'm small fry compared to Tucker. And Kent confirmed on Tucker that the Trump administration misled the world about Iran being an imminent threat. Kent said the real imminent threat came from Israel, which he says was planning to strike Iran first, putting U.S. soldiers in the Mideast bases in harm's way. He says this ultimately forced the United States to carry out a preemptive attack on Iran. This is also exactly what Rubio had said as well. And DNI Gabbard had admitted in her reports, although she wouldn't say it in front of Congress, that there was no imminent nuclear threat. Of course, this is what we saw with the Iraq WMD. And it's a lie that Netanyahu was repeating over and over again. Customs Michael Jaco said Bibi may be in a coma after the bombing. That's true. I mentioned that he may be in a coma, although I don't think Michael Jaco is worth following. But how do you then discredit a man of valor who follows his conscience, a warrior, a super warrior, super soldier, super spook, and served in the elite 2nd Ranger Battalion, the more elite 5th Special Forces Group, then the super secret Tier 1 Special Missions Intelligence and Reconnaissance unit, and then the CIA's equally elite Special Activity Division ground branch with 11 combat tours, a chest full of medals, and is a Gold Star husband who lost his super spook wife in Syria. Call him a leaker and weak on security. This is absurd, since Kent won't even say the name Intelligence Support Activity or Task Force Orange in his interview on the Sean Ryan Show or in his book, Send Me, or even off air when I interviewed him, even though the other vets of ISA and officers already have. I served in the predecessor unit, which became Task Force Orange, which was at the time Foreign Operations Group, and it was decades before I would even acknowledge it. To call this super stud spook, Spec Ops vet, Gold Star husband, a guy who can't keep his mouth shut and weak on security is ridiculous. And if he was, as Trump said, why did he hire him in the first place? What Kent said was, I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation. It's clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. It's exactly what I've said and others. But Representative Don Bacon, a Republican from Nebraska, says, good riddance. Iran has murdered more than 1,000 Americans. And again, I'm not arguing that Iran is a good guy. I'm just arguing, like Kent, there was no imminent threat from Iran. But a senior administration official tells Fox, faux Fox, and this was actually on the Laura Ingraham show, which I had to laugh at because I used to be on there until I outed Attorney General who was behind Fast and Furious. Can't think of his name right now. Somebody can put it in the chat. And then they wouldn't have me back on anymore. But Fox is saying some administration official said that Joe Kent was a known leaker. And more allegations are emerging that Joe Kent leaked across multiple departments. And again, I think that is absurd. Because I was in the predecessor unit and I had top secret SCI, Special Compartmented Information, Special Access Projects. I know if you have a background of leaking that you would not survive in that. So these are absurd allegations, and they're just trying to kill the message by discrediting the messenger. Nothing new about that. It's exactly what they did with me. Eric Holder, yes, thank you. When I started outing Eric Holder on Fox News during Fast and Furious, during the murder trial for Brian Terry, when they excluded the two AK-47s, which were Fast and Furious guns, I said, why would you exclude the murder weapons? It was the government that wanted them excluded, unless you're trying to cover things up. I talked about the emails that went to the White House. Earl Jackson's cloud of crap. Kent would never leak into. No, that's my exact point. Is if you don't know, there's another former ISA guy on YouTube right now. I think he's called the Stoic Viking, who is using the term. And he's saying, look, there's other places where there are officers and former commanders that are now saying ISA. So of all the tier 1 units, everybody's heard of Delta or Combat Applications Group, SEAL Team 6, Dev Group, but lesser few people have heard of Task Force Orange, TFO, Intelligence Support Activity. That's not the name anymore. And it is clearly still the most secretive of the Tier 1 units. It is a special reconnaissance over the horizon for strategic intelligence unit. It got started when Delta was going to rescue the Iran hostages, and they turned to the CIA and say we needed details, and the CIA couldn't provide them. So they developed this category of special reconnaissance and intelligence. Now, because during the war on terror, the TFO started working, Orange started working with the CIA a lot. CAG and DEV developed their own internal capabilities. So they have less of a strategic special reconnaissance mission than they did before, but they're still very low profile and very closed mouth. And so is Kent. So much so that he wouldn't even say ISA or TFO or Orange on Sean, or even in the book. If he won't say that, he's certainly not a leaker. But to confirm, now Fox again revealed that Joe Kent is under investigation by the FBI. So if you had any doubts, if the FBI is investigating you, that means you're the truth teller, and they are doing what the FBI always does now, and that is covering everything up. Unique approach, thoughts, or comments from Middle East Eye article. Who warns of worst case scenario nuclear incident in U.S.-Israeli war on Iran? Yes, that's the Samson Initiative. I read, if you didn't watch Tuesday's show, please go back and watch it. I talked about how it is theorized, and one of my near peers confirmed that Israel has smuggled small atomic demolition munitions, SATMs, into the United States, and they are threatening to hold Trump hostage by setting those off unless he does what he wants. But even more so, they set Trump up psychologically via the assassination attempts, which I've long said the government was in on. It was clear the government was in on both. Secret Service is not that incompetent, and the FBI. For example, Kent was talking to Tucker about crooks visiting the gun range where DHS trained 20 times or something. So where's the film of that? And so they don't release it. So that cooks up conspiracy theories. There's also crooks on the phone talking to somebody, just like there was somebody in the truck with the Oklahoma bomber. So there are co-conspirators, but the FBI covers it up to then create more conspiracy theories, so that when the theory that is truthful comes out, it too is billed as a crazy conspiracy theory. And of course, the term conspiracy theory was developed by the CIA. Ropo as Laura Ingraham, just a shill for the deep state, definitely. I used to be on Laura Ingraham several times, and when I started talking about Eric Holder and Fast and Furious, that was the end of that. And almost all of the mainstream media is bought and paid for by the intelligence community. faux Fox News is Newsmax, is CNN. It's like the Uniparty. Now to get to what's really important is Trump is considering deployment of thousands of ground troops along Strait of Hormuz and Karg Island. Karg Island is Iranian soil. That means boots on the ground, American boots on the ground. This comes as war pig Lindsey Graham demands that Trump escalate the war further on Karg Island. During a Fox News appearance, Graham cried 90% of their income comes from oil and gas revenues. 100% of that revenue generating capability is on a single island. Mr. President, take Karg Island, and this war is over. Of course, Graham has never served. He's a war pig. He's bought and paid for by Israel. And Israel has carefully cultivated with Trump, with a psychological operation, that Iran is behind the assassination attempts. Of course, the government was in on and facilitated both assassination attempts. And Israel fed Trump and the intelligence community the information that Iran was on it. That happened because Israel convinced Trump to kill Soleimani when he was getting off a plane for a diplomatic conference. And so then Israel said in response, which is, he was head of the Iranian Quds Force, Special Forces. So they've carefully developed this psyop about Trump. And of course, his Constellation staff are all Zionists, Susan Wise, Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff, all of them, that Iran was trying to kill him. So he must fight back because they're playing to his personality. What do you think of Tucker? I generally like Tucker a lot when he said that 2 Mossad agents were arrested in Qatar, and Saudi Arabia. That was unsupported. When he talked about being charged, that was unsupported. Tucker generally speaks very well, but if you go back and look at my Substack on the interview with Huckabee, you'll see Tucker does not do his homework because he did not correct Huckabee on the misquote of Scripture, who blesses Israel, I will bless. It's not what it says in the Holy Scripture. I quoted 30 different biblical sources. It says, who blesses you? God is talking to Abraham, who was Abram, not Israel. I like Tucker, but he doesn't do his homework. But anyway, citing 4 sources, Reuters reports that thousands of ground troops could be deployed to secure the Strait of Hormuz, take over Iran's oil exporting capabilities on Karg Island, or to contain Iran's highly enriched uranium stockpile. That's a whole nother mission creep right there. There's been no decision made, but Trump is keeping that option open. There's nothing wrong with keeping all options open. But the president is focused on achieving all of the defined objectives of Operation Epic Fury to destroy Iran's ballistic missile capacity, which they haven't done, annihilate their navy, which they're on their way to doing, ensuring the terrorist profiles cannot destabilize the region, and guarantee that Iran can never possess a nuclear weapon. Those options include a safe passage for oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz, a mission that would be accomplished primarily through air and naval forces, sources said, but securing the strait could also mean deploying U.S. troops to Iran's shoreline, said 4 sources, including 2 U.S. officials. So this is a major intel drop. The Trump administration has also discussed options to send ground forces to Iran's Karg Island, the hub for 90% of Iran's oil exports. 3 people familiar with the matter and 3 U.S. officials said. One of the officials said such an operation would be very risky. Iran has the ability to reach the island with missiles and drones. This is very, very significant. Note that opening the strait was not an initial objective. This means mission creep, which means Trump is reacting to Iran war plans, walking into a trap. It appears that Trump, Hegseth, and the Joint Chiefs are, as expected, ignoring the unconventional USS Tripoli 31st MU Marine Expeditionary Unit, which is on the Tripoli, 2,500 Marines, shoot and scoot from Oman and UAE islands with HIMARS in favor of a more conventional amphibious assault on Iran soil, ground that Iran has been preparing for 40 years. The 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit can do it, but the cost would be horrendous, perhaps approaching World War II Pacific theater losses. So this is my greatest concern now for Marines on the ground. This is playing directly into Iran's plan. Iran has 40 years of preparing their islands and their coastal defenses. It's not that we can't take it. It's the horrendous cost in taking it. So I want to get this out to everybody, because what I was saying on the other show, and I'd like to know if you guys understood what I was talking about, is the USS Tripoli was an amphibious landing ship, but without a well deck. And so the Navy didn't like that. The Marine Corps didn't like that. So the well deck is an opening in the rear of the ship that launches landing ship tanks, hovercraft, and takes the Marines ashore to hit the beach to secure a beachhead. All amphibious ships normally have well decks. The Navy thought outside the box and did not make a well deck. With the well deck gone, they were able to use the space for a surgical unit, which is very important, of course, for the Marines and sailors, but also put 20 F-35Bs, which are vertical takeoff jets. And they have Ospreys, which again are vertical takeoff craft to bring Marines ashore, and also H-53 helicopters. So the Marines would not come ashore by water because the strait is mined anyway, There's underwater drones. There are small Iranian submarines, and the coastline has been prepared for 40 years. They would, by my idea, not even hit Iranian soil. No boots on the ground in Iran. They would go to small nearby islands owned and controlled by Oman and the UAE. Once there, they would set up HIMARS missiles that could then be used to counter the defenses of the Iranians. And they wouldn't even stay there. They would fire and then load up back on the Ospreys and the H-53s and get out of there, not even trying to hold that. That is, I think, the way it could be done. But of course, that's a much more unconventional and sophisticated look. And this is what I was talking about also on Tuesday. And I hope you guys followed me on this. And again, if you didn't, but if you are now, please say so in the chat. But that doesn't look like what Trump and Hegseth and the Joint Chiefs, because Hegseth's no genius by any means. And going straight into Karg Island, it's not like the Iranians aren't aware of the significance of Karg Island. They can hit it with missiles. They're prepared. And of course, Iran is very mountainous. There's lots of caves. There's lots of tunnel complexes. There's lots of pop-up missiles that have been demonstrated already. So that's my big concern is Trump sending, and the 31st MEU are the Marines on the Tripoli. Now, they just finished training for something like this with Japan. And they are ideal for doing this mission. So it would be a low footprint, low signature, temporary on the ground, which could solve, not right away, but eventually open the strait in a way that the Iranians haven't prepared for. But it doesn't appear with officials, multiple officials talking about Karg Island, doesn't appear they're paying attention. So if you can share this, especially this portion right now, we may be able to save Marine lives. Beyond that, 5 U.S. Air Force KC-135 tankers were hit and damaged in an Iran strike on a Saudi air base. So this is also very significant, that the Air Force has suffered damage to 5 KC-135 tanker aircraft. And officials have confirmed that no personnel were killed in the strikes, but Prince Sultan Air Base has been a vital air base for the U.S. since it was established in the 1990s. It was drawn down in the 2000s and shifted to Al Amud. Amid tensions with Iran, the U.S. forces returned in 2019. So why did they come back? They left because it wasn't good. They were too vulnerable, and now they're back. U.S. forces returned in 2019, and the 378th Expeditionary Wing was formed. It's a massive U.S. base at Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia. 22 KC-135 tankers. That's refueling in the air, and that's very important for this mission. These refueling capabilities, amateur talk tactics, professional talk logistics. 53 F-16s, 10 C-130s, more aircraft on the way. Multiple Iran missiles and drones have reportedly targeted Prince Sultan Air Base over the past 2 weeks. Much of the news emerged from open source intelligence monitoring while official sources have remained largely silent, which is typical in wartime. You're not going to advertise how the enemy has hit you. With several additional KC-135 tankers reportedly non-operational, the Air Force could face increased pressure on a fleet that underpins its ability to conduct long-range strikes and air patrols. So coming from the carriers, takes about an hour of flight time for the aircraft of the carriers to get over Iran, then an hour back. It's typical for fighting aircraft, but that's why the KC-135 tankers are so crucial. Otherwise, maybe Karg Island is a misdirection from the main mission. I hope so, but I don't think Trump and Hegseth are that sophisticated. But that is my hope. But I'm going to get this out in hopes that it could help. So the KC-135s might not be missed in terms of fleet capabilities, but their strategic positioning in Saudi Arabia might. So what does this mean? Iran is methodically dismantling the U.S. Air Force's Mideast in-air refueling capability. This reduces U.S. Air Force time over target capability, where the jets can only fly, they only have like half hour, 40 minutes over target, where Iranian drones can loiter. And they're also, of course, much less expensive. So the U.S. has also lost 10 Reaper drones over Iran. Iran's low-cost, low-tech Shahed drones hit the KC-135s on the ground. This is a minor tactical loss for the U.S., but a major strategic win for Iran. It proves the U.S. and Israel, with all their air power and might, has still not been able to achieve air dominance over their own Mideast bases, much less over Iran. Of course, this was a major objective of the war. The U.S. does not control the battle skies and does not control the battle waters of the Hormuz. So that, to me, is very, very significant. And I hope you understand that. I don't see anybody commenting on if they understand the Tripoli 31st Mu. I would think I would get some Marines on here or sailors, vets, to talk about that. But if I'm not clear, please let me explain it further. But in regards to the old USS Nimitz carrier, the retirement was supposed to retire this year, and it is going to be kept in service for yet another year. And if you remember, this was the carrier used in the movie The Final Countdown, a sci-fi movie with Kirk Douglas. Pretty good movie. So it was supposed to retire. It's really old. It's passing through South America, going to go around the Cape. But the Navy is going to keep it for yet another year. Extending the life of the old carrier Nimitz is another indication that naval forces are stressed and stretched by the Iran war. Oh, there we go. High Crop Man. I totally understand what you're saying, Jeffrey. Yes, I get it as well. Okay, good. Because I don't think the administration gets it. Because again, even having an amphibious landing ship without a well deck is unheard of. They only made one, and then Congress and the military forced the Navy to make the next two go back to well deck. So they're fighting the last war. So there's only one of these anyway, where you can't afford to sacrifice a carrier. You could afford to sacrifice an amphibious landing ship. So remember, by the way, to go to beready123.com and get your Iridium 9555 free with a 24-month contract, and use the promo code Prather for a 10% discount. beready123.com. I wonder if Ilya Weiss says, I wonder if the Nimitz extension is a response to the problems with the Ford. Yeah, well, that's part of it, certainly. And the Ford is heading back to Crete. Obviously, the toilets were sabotaged purposefully. There is debate about the laundry fire, if it was actually a deck fire. So there's a lot of stuff I'm seeing on X that I'm not reporting on, that I can't tell if it's Iranian war propaganda or not. But I can tell you that there was a fire, that it raged, and a lot of sailors lost personal items. That is confirmed directly. And that sabotage, at least 2 instances of sabotage, indicate the M word, the mutiny word. So the Ford is leaving, going back to Crete. It is essentially out of the fight. Iran's whole philosophy of this war is a war of attrition, is outlast the U.S. And that seems to be working. An indication of that is that the Ford is out of the fight. Now, there's lots of war propaganda. There's this, which I'm just ignoring because I can't validate. It doesn't sound right. For example, there's supposedly, they're saying, a group of soldiers mutinied and left the ship. Well, the first thing is, it wouldn't be sailors. It wouldn't be soldiers. It would be sailors or Marines. Although highly unlikely that it would be Marines. They're too highly motivated. Secondly, well, how would they do that? So I'm just ignoring stories like that. There's a lot of stuff that I'm ignoring and not talking about. But going back to Kent, Tucker asked Kent why the quick surveillance tapes haven't been released. And he said the government, again, deliberately holds that so the actual question never gets answered. And again, this is about the surveillance tapes from the shooting range. It would tell you who Crooks trained with. And obviously, to be on the range, he trained with somebody. That is, he had to get on the range. So it's real simple police work. You interview those people and see if there's co-conspirators. But if you never release anything, then you let conspiracy theories fester. And so when there are legitimate theories that come up, they are ignored as crazy as well. That's exactly what the FBI of today does. Finally, America's so-called greatest ally, Israel, has ordered the Church of the Holy Sepulchre closed, along with the empty tomb barricaded, and no plans to open that for Holy Week, for Easter, for Resurrection Day. The holy fire will not be present. And this is the first time in a millennia that hasn't happened. If you don't know, they reach into a hole, and there's a supposedly spontaneous fire that happens. It's a big tradition over there. And of course, the sepulcher and the empty tomb are eminently important to Christians all over the world. And Israel has closed that. And there's also rumors of plans to tunnel under the Al-Aqsa Mosque and destroy that as well. So that is the intelligence analysis for today, which I think is very important. Again, thank you for your patience with my illness and your prayers and all your recommendations. I really appreciate them. I take them all very seriously. My wonderful wife is taking great care of me. Again, and I'm continuing to do this because I think it's so important. So I'll pause there, and I'm appreciating the increased response on Rumble and X. And I'm just checking to make sure I'm not missing any questions or comments. Really hoping our greatest ally is blown off the map during this. Got to pray for our enemies. Praying for you, Jeffrey Heckropman. Thank you so much. Really helps. I am getting better. Coughing less. Inhaling doesn't hurt as much. Slowly getting there. Yeah, I've got CPAPs and I've got nebulizers, and I'm doing all that stuff as well. I really appreciate you guys' concerns. Any questions before I wrap up here? Yeah, I've got inhalers too. Thank you so much. All right. If not you, who? Time is short. Lines are formed. Time to awake or dream. Choose life or death. Are you a sheep or a sheepdog? Warrior or slave? Jabbed or not? Victim or survivor? Do not line up. Step out. Do not consume. Save. Do not obey. Resist. Do not believe. Discern. Do not trust. Verify. Do not conform. Rebel. Do not submit. Refuse. Do not kneel. Stand. We stand together alone. Kurayi.